And welcome to the latest edition of the 941 Sports Zone. We're up to episode number 12. I'm Rich Spitz-Spetaleri. He's John. I am very cold Masoni down in Venice, Florida. I'm up in Saugus, Massachusetts. It's going to get really cold down there tonight for you folks in Florida. Bring all that vegetation. Bring your animals in.
Absolutely. It's a historically early cold stretch, and down to the 30s for just about the whole area. They're talking about wind chills in the 20s, and the hard freezes up a little north of us. So something you don't usually see in and around the first or second week of November. Not something like this until maybe into December, into January.
All right, the 941 Sports Zone brought to you, as always, by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, locally owned and nationally backed. We're delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses throughout the Gulf Coast. 941-251-4257 is the number, 941-251-4257. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show,
I have a PSA.
That is a little PSA for us.
Absolutely. So if you look real hard, you can see this little red spot on my nose right here.
I actually didn't have to look hard at all, John.
No, it's pretty obvious. But what it is that I go for a screening every year. I'm a dermatologist to get checked for skin cancer. I suggest to any and all people who live in Florida or anywhere in the country, if you're out in the sun a lot, or even if you're fair skinned or whatever, go to the dermatologist, get an annual checkup. It's great. That little spot right there is just a precautionary thing where they freeze a little something off there. And that's the only thing they found. And I'm outside all the time. So
yes, you
use your sunscreen as well. But it's a good thing to get checked out. We get checked out for a lot of other things. We check our blood pressure and all these different things. And sometimes the obvious we overlook. And so if you can do that and go make an annual appointment to go check with your dermatologist, it'll be a really good thing. And in a lot of cases, it's a lifesaver. So be precautious, have precaution, do the right thing. And I think all will be well.
All right, there you go. There's your PSA for today's show. So we've covered all the stuff that we actually need to do now with the broadcasting community. Coming up, we'll talk college football. Florida and Florida State going in the wrong direction. We'll talk the NFL, where Raymond James Stadium, or should I say Gillette Stadium South, was in place in Tampa yesterday. Some unbelievable results in the NFL, and we've got a What's Bugging Me, and of course our locks of the week. My streak ended, yours continues, so we'll talk all about that as we get into the show. But late last week, the high school playoff picture became in full focus as the brackets were released by the FHSAA. That's the Florida High School Athletic Association, for those of you who don't know. And we're going to go through each bracket from 7A down to 2A, because the 941 has representation in every bracket, and in multiple brackets they have the number one seed, John.
And we talked about this at Media Day back in the beginning of August, how there was a lot of feelings and speculation that this could be where we ended up with our playoff representation in the 941 area code. And my goodness, it may have exceeded our expectations in some ways, with Bayshore getting in there. Charlotte is in there as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for some teams to go not only participate in the playoffs, but go deep into the playoffs, especially with their seedings.
All right, let's start in 7A. That's the biggest district, and that's where Venice resides. Venice held on by the hair of their chinny chin chin to the number one seed. Close. Real close. Riverview made a strong run last week, beating Manatee. Might have actually been an out-of-town game that got Venice the additional points that they needed when Lakeland got beat by First Academy on the final week of the season.
That was a big deal for them, and actually they'll be in the playoffs as well now. So, Coach Peacock does a lot of, other than getting his team ready to win games and do whatever. He's also sets up his schedule to be tough, not so as much as for the kids to get better and play against top-notch competition, but also to have the schedule that will help him get that higher seeding in the playoffs, because that's part of the formula that the FHSA uses to designate where you're ranked and how you get seeded in the playoffs.
So Venice is the number one seed in Class 7A Region 2. Riverview is the number 2 seed. Venice will host another district champion, Ridge Community, who ended up being the 8th seed. Interesting set of circumstances there. Normally, if you win your district, you in all likelihood host, but they still do the ranking by points, and where the chips lie is where they go. And apparently, Ridge Community ended up as the last of the seeded teams in the tournament. So Venice gets to host them coming up on Friday night.
And it is you as a district champion, you're in the playoffs. Just a matter of where you get ranked after that, or how you get seeded after that. Because so the guarantee is still there to make the playoffs as a district champion. Now it's just a matter of how you get seeded in your region, and then of course moving forward to the teams you play afterwards as well. So yeah, I mean, I've heard a little bit about Ridge Community. They run base offense thing, the I formation. They do some different stuff. Solid team, like any district champion, or in any team in the playoffs for that matter, is going to be a solid football team. Coming to Pal Davis Stadium, where the Indians have been just lights out the last 5 years, where you just see them kind of winning these home games and getting home games in the state semifinals and taking advantage of that opportunity. So Ridge Community is going to have a tough time coming into Pal Davis Stadium. I'm sure they're going to throw everything at us, everything but the kitchen, or maybe the kitchen sink as well. And I wouldn't expect anything less. Going to put up a good fight on Friday night.
Riverview's the 2 seed, and there are other regions where the 2 seed actually had to go on the road. However, the team that finished 7th was Winter Haven, which was not a district champion. So Riverview gets to host Winter Haven in round 1.
Right. And so, and there lies, like I said, the similar situation. Coach Christiani and the Rams had, I would say a more than fair schedule, mostly local. But again, I think that there was a few games that maybe got tossed in there along with the district games as well, that might have brought their schedule down to maybe a little bit lower than they'd hoped for. But again, let's just face it. I think looking at our region, no offense to anybody else, but it seems like Venice and Riverview might be on a collision course again to meet in the regional finals,
which would be the day after Thanksgiving. Interesting to note, Riverview had a tie early in the season. They might have been the first game, a weather game that only went to the half, and they were tied with Naples, and they never continued that game. If they finish that game and win that game, they might be the 1 seed.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I think that a tie is a funny thing to see on any anymore. But no, I think you're right. I think if they would have finished that game, that might have been a difference maker. But once you kind of went down the road enough and didn't have any sort of preset time or whatever, I think there was never going to be a time to go back and redo that game, and it would have to benefit both teams too if that was the case as well. I'm not sure Naples would just be like, yeah, come on, let's help Riverview out and let's get this game, let's finish this game for them. But maybe if there would have been some conversation, but you don't know. You don't have a crystal ball. You don't know how things are going to work out. In this case, it probably wasn't the best thing for them in their for their schedule and for their ranking. But nonetheless, they are where they are, and it's gonna go through Venice for the most part. So and again, familiarity sometimes leads to a lot of funky things, and that's always concerning if you are on the Venice side of things or the Riverview side of things, that they know and you know them, and where's it going to change? Does it come down to referee calls? Does it come down to turnovers, which of course we know turnovers are always a huge part of that as well. So weather. So you just got to be careful like that. And so Riverview's got to feel good about their position right now, and I think that they will be formidable if that is where they end up in that regional final.
Clearwater's on the other side of them, by the way, and that would be a very interesting 2-3 matchup week after next if Riverview gets by Winter Haven. All right, let's move to 6A, where Palmetto was the clear 1 seed in their region. 3 teams from their district are in the regional playoffs. Parish Community is the 3 seed, and Leonard is the 4 seed. Palmetto will host 8 seed Wiregrass Ranch in round 1, while Leonard, even though being the 4 seed, goes on the road to play district champion Mitchell out of Newport Richey, so they'll have to travel. Parish Community also has to travel as the 3 seed, as they will take on number 6 Tarpon Springs Eastlake, and that game will be played in Tarpon Springs. Again, Tarpon Springs winning the district. So even though you have 3 of the top 4 seeds, 2 of them are going to have to travel.
Right. And if you look at this their region, you see a lot of familiar names and faces with teams that have been around the playoffs quite a bit. Obviously, West Boca had a great year last year. Parish Community, East Lake, always was a tough out. Venice played them a few years back in the playoffs as well. So names that are familiar. But man, I just have a hard time not seeing Palmetto advancing out of that region, because they've put some explosive games up there. They played a pretty tough schedule themselves, especially locally. Outside of the Riverview loss, I mean, they're unblemished, and I think that they are a team on the ready. Coach Sanders is a guy that's been around the block a bit. At his time at Braden River as an offensive coordinator under Coach Bradley, I think that they're going to really go out there, and I would be very surprised at the talent level they have on that team that they're not coming out of that region.
All right, the other one seeds Gainesville, Buchholz, Armwood, and Southridge. So a formidable Final Four if all the ones do advance. Class 5A, actually in the region that is closest to us, Riverdale gets the top seed. Boy, they have certainly turned their program around the last several years. When I left, they were barely a playoff team, and I remember a first-round game against Venice, I believe, ended up 87-20.
Yes,
if I remember correctly. But now they're the one seed. The teams from our area actually are going to face off against each other, as the 3 seed is Manatee as a district champion, and they will host number 6 seed Charlotte. That should be a very interesting game.
Absolutely right. And I'll tell you this, that region right there, Riverdale, I want to say that their coach is a disciple of the Apopka lineage up there, and they do a lot of that exotic sort of running game attack. And so they're a tough matchup for anybody, because you're not used to seeing that. However, Manatee, talk about a tough schedule. They put it out there, boy. And I'll tell you what, they won the right amount of games, the games they needed to win, and they got in the playoffs. They're dangerous. That's a dangerous team. Charlotte, I would imagine that, again, familiar foe, but Manatee they have the pedigree to be a 1 seed in any region that they would be in for sure. So Manatee, I think, is going to be one to watch, because I think that they really, really, really are battle tested. And I think with a 2-week layoff to kind of get, or at least a 1-week layoff, I should say, 1 week layoff, they're definitely going to get themselves right and have time to prepare for that first game.
All right. So that's 5A. Those are the teams.
Real quick, Rich, I'll tell you what, real quick on that. Every number 1 seed, the other 3 of them are that's tough. I mean, you've got Ponte
Aquinas.
You got
Aquinas, Ponte Vedra, and Orlando Edgewater. There's some football lineage there. Yeah,
and Edgewater has been always a top-notch program. It's good. That's a tough one. That is really going to be tough, but we'll see what happens. Just going to keep my eye on Manatee. There isn't anybody in that whole any of the brackets that they haven't faced a tougher team, because they played some teams from all over the place, and they played one heck of a schedule.
Moving to 4A, Port Charlotte had that final game against Zephyr Hills that ended up a 1-point game. Both those teams ended up as 2 seeds. That's really interesting. Port Charlotte is in the region with Tampa Jesuit, who's the 1 seed. Port Charlotte will play 7-seeded Dunbar. Those teams played not too long ago on October 10th, and it was a one-sided affair, 44-12 in favor of Port Charlotte. And that was at Dunbar. Now Dunbar's got to come to Port Charlotte, have to say advantage Pirates.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. I mean, we've been talking about Port Charlotte all year. We love Logan Flaherty at quarterback. And again, momentum builder. I really believe that Naples victory was sort of that might have been getting the monkey off your back, because that was a team that had a hard time pushing past. Still may have to face them, but nonetheless, I think it's a push forward for Port Charlotte. I think they'll go at least to the regional finals. What I look at them for, and again, looking at these seeds as well in this bracket alone. You've got Naples. You got South Fort Myers. That's a very good football team as well.
What a 4-5 matchup that is.
Absolutely. So you're looking at some pretty tough matchups. Clearwater's another team that you got to watch out for as well. But again, the seedings for the other schools, you've got a 2 seed on the bracket below with American Heritage, and that's just, the American Heritage schools are all ready for the go on those things. Miami Norland is in there as well. Mm-hmm. And then as far as the Jones High School, there's
out of Orlando.
Coach Williams up there does a great job with his team, and he's been building his perennial power over the last few years, and they're getting to be regulars in that 1 seed whatever region they're at. So look out for them down the road as well. And then St. Augustine again. It's funny about St. Augustine, and that you look at teams that are in the playoffs all the time. St. Augustine is one of those ones that you kind of overlook. But man, they put out some good football teams. And following the brackets as I have over the last number of years, you see St. Augustine in there all the time, and it always seems like, oh, it must be an upset. They beat so and so. No, it's no upset. They are a really, really good football program in St. Augustine. That part of Florida, they may be the most consistent winner from in the whole Jacksonville, St. Augustine, probably Daytona
Northeast Florida area.
Yeah, they're very consistent winners, and they do a great job. They get moved around too. They're 4A, they're 3A. They pop up and down a lot as well. So, but they're successful no matter where they go.
Back in 2005, they played Booker in the championship game and beat the Tornadoes soundly. I covered that game down at I guess it was Joe Robbie Stadium back then. I don't know what it was, but down in Miami. So they've got definitely a history, and they've got state championships in the holster. So that's going to be quite a region there in 4A. Go to 3A. Booker is the 1 seed. They were number 11 overall in the state. So it's very likely that they're going to be home all the way till the finals. So Booker is the 1 seed. And as you mentioned, which I missed on the first time around, Bayshore is the 5 seed. And plays in the 4-5 game against Tampa Chamberlain at Tampa Chamberlain. And the winner of that game will very likely play Booker. Booker is got a date with a 4-6 Mulberry team, should win that game. So could have a local matchup there. And those two teams did play earlier in the regular season. Booker won easily. I think it was something to the effect of 40-0. Chamberlain is always well represented in Tampa. And again, very familiar schools. Miami Northwestern's the 1 seed. Right below them, Orlando Bishop Moore is the 1 seed, and this team called the Rain School in the Jacksonville area is the 1 seed. That is a region right there. If all 4 get through, boy, you're gonna earn your stripes to win the championship.
There's no doubt about it. Just going back to Bayshore real quick. Second year head coach, you make the step to get in the playoffs. That's again, you want to win every game you play, right? If they get a win and they get to the next round, just the experience, the confidence building, it's not in building a program. I tell everybody this all the time. You have to convince the kids on campus that football is cool, or football is what you want to do. And it's cool when you're in the playoffs. It's cool when the TV's come and interview, if Xavier's going down there, whoever's going to go down there to interview them and talk about how well they're doing, and you're getting accolades, you're getting players recognized for individual achievements and whatnot. This is the build. This is how it works, and you got to be looking at it and saying, man, we took the right steps to get where we're going to get to, and now it's going to come down to, okay, when we start knocking on everybody else's door around town and saying, we want to play you guys and we want to get these rivalries built again and everything else. So big ups to Bayshore. But that, you're talking about that whole classification. Northwestern, they are, I mean, and with all the stuff that they had to go through with the loss of their coach, the loss of their quarterback in game 3, he decides to transfer them to American Heritage, wouldn't you know, right? And that situation happens. So it's coming to the point where I will tell you this. I know the FHSA would love to hear me say this, but televised high school playoff games, like not just on live streams, but actually on TV in the state of Florida, I can see this happening with some of when you start to see the matchups and you start to see the teams that are out there, because it's worth watching. People will want to watch it. I know you can find it on the internet, and you can find most of these games you want to find through the NFHS. But I think some point in time that this might end up being a game of the week in the playoffs, or 2 games of the week, whatever you want to call it. Something's going to come of it, I think, because these are they're marquee matchups that you don't want to miss.
Speaking of marquee, let's go to 2A, where our final representation is the number 1 seed in their region and the number 1 seed in 2A, and the number 2 team in the entire state of Florida resides in Sarasota. That's Cardinal Mooney High School. And because they moved up to 2A, John, they're getting a full playoffs. Remember, they were in single A, and they had 1 less round. Well, not this year. They got to do the quarterfinal, semifinal, regional final, state semifinal. They got to win 5 games to win it all. It starts out with North Broward Prep. I don't think they'll have much trouble with that. They play the winner of Calvary Christian of Fort Lauderdale against Bishop Verot. They're obviously familiar with Verot, having beaten them in the regular season.
Right.
Lakewood, St. Pete team, not too far below them in the rankings. That's probably going to be one heck of a 1-2 matchup in the regional.
Lakewood has been a state champion. Lakewood has been a power in that area. And then I'll skip ahead to anytime you see Glade Central or any team from down there, Pahokee, whatever they come from, boy, you better expect to strap it on and go, because these are. I mean, that I'll never forget the Sports Illustrated article about the guys playing in the mud, that black mud. That they've been, and so many great athletes have come out of there. So that little bit of that region right there is definitely formidable. But Cardinal Mooney, I mean, if you're talking about them right now, they're way up there. They're the class of this whole classification, and so they got to be the favorite no matter whoever's in their bracket.
But look at the other teams. LaSalle is a 1 seed. Bradford, who's a state champion, they were in the small school, state champion. They're a 1 seed, and the Bowles School, another team that's there all the time.
Those guys who have the most state championships in football, and absolutely. And I even look below there. You've got Cardinal Gibbons, a state champion.
Yep, you guys played them a couple of years ago.
You got a little team called Cocoa, the 3 seed in Bradford, where they're they've just been dominant. Just think about this: if their quarterback had not deferred and graduated early, how good would Cocoa be this year?
They might be going for a 3-peat.
Right. Yeah. And but they still got the players around them. So there's a lot to look at right there. And I can tell you that it's going to be one heck of a matchup in the semifinals. Whoever does get there, like I said, all these classifications, man, these regional final games and these state semifinal games are just going to be classic football games. That 2A, that's nothing to mess with. We talk about it all the time. Don't look at the size of the school and think that 7A in Venice, but they would wipe the floor. No. It's a different story. It's different now. Kids are seeking out to go to these programs, such as Cardinal Mooney now, such as the Bowles Academy, such as Northwestern, or anybody for that matter. They're seeking out these places, Cocoa. So these smaller schools are only small in enrollment. They're not small in stature and or in potential to win state championships.
All right, and there's the representation of our local area in the state playoffs, and we will follow it right up through till the end here on the 941 Sports Zone. Got to give a couple of shout outs. And I apologize. This kind of escaped me, but we had 2 teams represented from the 941 in the Final Four in volleyball.
Yes.
Lemon Bay and Port Charlotte both made the state semifinals. Unfortunately, that's where the runs ended, but they both lost to the eventual state champions. There's certainly no shame in that. But big congratulations to both Lemon Bay and Port Charlotte for winning their regions and getting to the Final Four. That's certainly no small feat.
And we talk about all the sports in 941 area code, but this just seems to be a little bit of a special amount of representation when it comes to football, volleyball, and I'll throw baseball and softball in there as well.
Absolutely.
They do a fantastic job. And again, we talk about playing locally. You play against a lot of good teams. You know what I mean? You're going to get good. You're going to go and get into these regions, and you've played these tight matches, And you know what? You all of a sudden you say to yourself, you're in the MS. You're like, we got this. We can do this.
Right.
So yeah, don't be surprised to see that continue on down the road with all the other schools and Cardinal Mooney and Venice over the years have sort of been the bell cows in regards to the volleyball side of it. But nonetheless, now you're seeing Lemon Bay, Port Charlotte, and I'm sure there's a lot. Manatee has had a great run.
Braden River, I remember Braden River being very good too. Yeah, 941 always well represented.
Riverview again.
Yep, absolutely, John. Fantastic. So again, big congratulations to both Lemon Bay and Port Charlotte. I know Lemon Bay had to win a couple of road games to get there, so kudos to them. They came up through the bracket.
When's the last time you were at a girls volleyball game?
I actually broadcast the 2008 finals when Lemon Bay made it all the way to the state championship.
So you know how those gyms get.
Yes.
You want to have some fun. And I know the locals around here, a lot of them get that. It is a lot of fun to go to a volleyball game. Yeah, loud. It's a little. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, should we really be behaving this way in a volleyball game? But there is a lot of energy and a lot of and I'll say it's all in good spirit for the most part. But going on the road can be intimidating, especially you get that crowd real close to you like that. Yeah, they're right on top of you in a lot of those gymnasiums. So pretty cool environment.
All right, so that's our high school wrap, 941 Sports Zone, and we'll move over to college football in just a moment. But we need to let you know that Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida is our presenting sponsor. They are locally owned and nationally backed with exceptional roofing services delivered for homes and businesses throughout the Gulf Coast. Give them a call, 941-251-4257. 941-251-4257 is the number. We moved to college football begrudgingly if you're a Gator or a Seminole fan. Florida State got off to a rough start, tried to make a comeback, but ended up losing Saturday night at Clemson 24-10. So the Seminoles are now 4-5 on the season. But I was more shocked. I wasn't really shocked about that result. I knew Clemson. This is a rivalry game for them. They've had a rough year. They certainly played better than they have recently. But the game that happened in Lexington, John, as a Gator fan, you have to be disturbed. 38-7. I thought the Gators would win that game, and I heard a lot of pundits during the week, and I kind of shut them out, saying, Florida might have left it all on the field in Jacksonville against Georgia. And, they said that Florida might have a hard time getting up for this game. I know you watched the whole thing, John. Give me your thoughts.
So I will tell you this. If in the Billy Napier, where Billy Napier might had his biggest failings as a coach, would be the idea that he presented in Florida as a physical football team. That was his approach to the game, right? Physical, line of scrimmage control, everything else. Well, he was never more physical than Kentucky in the 4 years that he coached. Kentucky was always more physical than them, and once again proved out that they were way more physical than Florida. Again, there were plays in the game when they went on their run of some touchdowns in the second quarter where there was nobody even close to be able to tackle anybody until there was 8 to 10 to 12 yards down the field. Absolutely getting blown off the ball. Absolutely just had no chance to stop the running game. Kentucky's that's been their bread and butter. Look, 10-3 game against Auburn last week. Okay, that's how they've been playing football games. Mm-hmm. And to go out and just physically beat up Florida is an indictment of how short Billy Napier came to what he was trying to do. It was an indictment, and the other indictment is the fact that he didn't do any service to DJ Lagway whatsoever. No. If DJ 5-star kid, 5-star athlete, if he truly sat out 9 months where he didn't have any live action, which is what's been told, because he was nursing an injury or trying not to have surgery on a shoulder or whatever the story is that's coming out of Gainesville. Well, he did a disservice to that kid because now he's made him look inept as a player, and you may have just delayed his career path because who knows what he's going to do now because Nobody is going to be surprised if DJ Lagway taps out for the rest of the season and then goes to the portal. It would be no surprise whatsoever. Is he going to wait around maybe to see who the next coach is? Possibly. But that whole game, it sounds like a lot to talk about in a 38-7 game, but there was a lot to unravel right there. Billy Gonzalez, there's nothing he can do about that. He's dealt the hand he's dealt. Everybody's like, we're not throwing the ball downfield. Well, you can't if your quarterback can't do it, and you can't if you have no plays designed to do it.
The receivers don't get open. That's the other thing.
And by the way, too, talking about physicality, our wide receiving core has been always have problems with injuries. The top three guys didn't even play. Vernell Brown played a little bit. He was hurt. Wilson, again, I mean, where is he? Not Dallas Wilson, the Trey Wilson.
Right.
He's been off the field more than he's been on the field. And then of course, like I said, you have Dallas Wilson, who's the guy who comes out, puts together a fantastic game against Texas, and he's a ghost the rest of the year. So I don't know what to say any more than that. All the speculation about who the coach is going to be, I'm already bored with it because, unfortunately, it's Scott Strickland making the decision, right, with the influence of the Gator boosters who are going to want to get that. I mean, they've anything other than Lane Kiffin, they're going to be disappointed. They're going to throw as much money as they can at him within reason and try to peel him away. He hasn't answered the question. He hasn't been extended. He's going
to be asked this week. He's definitely going to be asked this week with Florida going to Oxford.
So if Kiffin going or staying is going to want to make a statement no matter what. Yep. Just put a bookmark on that, because that's going to be something that comes up a little later as well. And he's going to make a statement one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I'm staying. Guess what? Or, hey, see what I can do? Get the checkbook ready. Okay, so that's where I think that's going to go to. Real quick note, go back to Florida State and Clemson. If you ask me right now who I want to get as Florida's head coach, I keep on saying it, and everybody's like, I said it weeks ago. I thought it was nuts. Dabo Swinney is the one I would want to go get. He is struggling at Clemson. Yes. That game against Florida State, if Clemson was truly the number 2 team in the country or whatever they were, Cade Klubnik, all these different things, there was a point in the game I thought Florida State might have a chance to kind of make it even closer. Yeah, that shows me nothing. That Clemson, I mean, and this is not an indictment of Florida State. I would say the same if it was Florida playing Clemson. That game didn't show that they're back on track. No, it did show nothing. They're going to lose to South Carolina. They're going to lose. They're a bad team, and I think it's because he lost track of what he needed to do. He got behind the times, and he's always been an SEC guy. Coming from Alabama. Alabama's not going to get him. But there's jobs in the SEC. I don't see why you wouldn't want to go after him. There's only 3 coaches currently coaching in NCAA football who have won national championships, and that is Kirby Smart, that is Dabo Swinney, and Ryan Day. That's it. Yep. You go get one of them, you've made a splash move, and I think Dabo would be more than happy to be living in the richest recruiting area of all, which is the state of Florida.
You're going to have to buy him out, which I don't even know. I don't even know what the buyout is, because the contract, if you remember, was 10 years, $93 million. Sure. He's making serious coin. So you're going to have to go above that plus buy him out. I'm not sure. As much money as there is in the SEC, I'm not sure anybody has that kind of money. What would you think about? I mean, if they had with Lane Kiffin. Because here's the thing about, and this could be a 2-hour conversation, but Lane Kiffin is a left-handed monkey wrench. Okay, he's the guy that you just don't know what's going to happen. He's staying. What solidified it for me as him not being the candidate I want to put front and foremost is how he behaved on TV right after the Oklahoma game. Yeah, I mean, you can't be that guy. You can't be that immature and allow a 19-year-old to get under your skin, and then you're you're getting in a jawing match with them. I get it that stuff like that happens here and there,
but couldn't even be you're the coach and you're a bad winner. You're a bad winner. Okay. You know what I mean? But
John, I'm going to stop you right there. A lot of people said Steve Spurrier was a bad winner. You didn't mind him.
Well, here's the difference. Okay. Steve Spurrier was doing it because he had an axe to grind from a long time ago. Okay. He lived it. Okay. He had, I mean, the best story I can tell you is the Bill Curry story that I probably told you before. Bill Curry got hired at Georgia Tech after Pepper Rogers was fired. Steve Spurrier was a coach on Pepper Rogers' staff in 1981. And and Bill Curry didn't even interview or talk to Steve Spurrier. He just sent him something and said, pink slip, and off you go. Steve Spurrier beat Bill Curry 65-0 when he was on his way out of Kentucky. And they asked Steve Spurrier after the game was over, they said, Coach, weren't you a little hard on Coach Curry right there? You had it. You could have done whatever. Said, well, second string guys practice hard. They get a chance to do it. They're going to tell them to take a knee, and they're going to try. And third string guys the same way. And hey, you want to get a touchdown on the Swamp? And he goes, by the way, he told the story about Pepper Rogers. He goes, and Bill Curry didn't even give him the courtesy of a phone call, whatever else it was. He said, and I'd had 3 little kids, and I had no job and nowhere to go. And Bill Curry wasn't worried about that. So taking a loss by 60 points is a lot less than not being able to how you're going to feed your family. That's where Steve Spurrier came from. He's just not running around poking fun at people or trying to start a fight with a 19-year-old or with John with him. He did some stuff that could be hard to swallow in a lot of cases, and he made a lot of people mad, pissed off the whole SEC. But it came from a place where it was genuine to him, not something contrived and immature.
Miami got back on track. They downed Syracuse 38-10. But they are in the worst position of anybody in the ACC, and the ACC had another very rough week. Virginia was a one-loss team. They lost to Wake Forest at home. That is a terrible loss. Basically put Georgia Tech back in the driver's seat. It's Georgia Tech, and even though Virginia lost, apparently those are the 2 teams that have the highest percentage to get into the championship game, and it's looking every day more like the ACC is going to be a one-bid league.
Best team I see in the ACC all year, bar none, is Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
they're and everybody was touting Miami. I think I've said it before too with Mario Cristobal. I'm not a fan, not a fan at all. He plays down to his competition. He doesn't seem like he's I don't know. I would think that right now the 3 schools we mentioned earlier, or we talked about Florida State, Florida, Miami. The first one who gets the right guy in here is going to dominate this state for a number of years. And that's why when I said earlier about going out and get a guy, the time is now, because you can waste money on the next guy and the next guy. Look, 3 weeks ago, everybody's like, "Oh, it's Eli Drinkowitz. He's the guy." He's 6-3. Okay, he's not. And I grant you, he has injuries. So does everybody else.
At the quarterback, though. I mean, come on now.
Again, two injuries. I get that. But I don't know if there would be that much of a difference, honestly, because they only lost their quarterback last week. So I'm not sold that he's the guy with the magic elixir. I'm not. I know I want proof positive that there's winners. Hey, when Urban Meyer came to Florida, everybody knew the expectation was he's going to win. There was no doubt about it. Now, you had to hold your nose a little bit when it was all happening, but nonetheless, you knew he was going to win. You got to think that you got to get that pedigree, and that's what you got to look for.
UCF played their Space Coast game on Friday night and lost to Houston 30-27. Valiant effort, but the Knights are sitting at 4-5, and a bowl game is looking further and further away for them. Thursday night, USF kind of made a little bit of a statement, destroying UTSA 55-23. They led 42-10 at the half and just coasted home. While that was going on, Tulane was upsetting Memphis. And don't look now, but the team that has the inside track to the group of 6, if you will, path to the playoff is James Madison.
Yeah.
Because they only have 1 loss, and they're actually ranked, at least in the AP poll, they're 24. USF is 25. Of course, every Tuesday night we have the TV show with all the rankings that comes out. That'll tell a little bit more of the story. I would love nothing better than to see James Madison win it and take on Indiana.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be wouldn't that be a little bit of justice? Huh?
Sometimes sports have a little bit of that little pixie dust on top of it, and there is one of them. But look at what James Madison proved. They left the FCS, they go up to FBS, and in a very short window have proven themselves to be very, very good football team. Now we always talk about North Dakota State and their potential move to the FBS. I think they've got a niche that they probably like up there.
Right.
They all play Montana State. They all South Dakota State. Right. They all kind of play each other. It's a good brand of football. But watch the step up. And there's a lot of teams that have done it over the last few years. They could be somebody to tussle with if they can get recruiting down for them.
Well, listen, they lost their coach to Indiana, and they haven't missed a beat. They're still winning football games. Good on them. Yeah, good on them. So it's going to come down. USF has a big game this week. We'll talk about in a little bit. They're traveling to Navy, and that game there is an absolute have to have for USF if they want to get into the conference championship game. The other big games around the country, I'm going to tip my cap to Texas Tech. They not only beat BYU, they beat them up. I watched that whole game. Remember, BYU was my lock of the week. Yeah. Had a great streak going. They didn't have a chance to breathe in that game. Texas Tech, from the opening kickoff, kicked their butts. 29-7 is not even indicative of how badly Texas Tech beat BYU in that game, John.
They kicked 5 field goals inside the 20. They did. And their coach was so positive that they were going to win that game that he went for it on it with a chip shot field goal to go up 16-0 at half. He said, "No, he was interviewed afterwards or at halftime. He's like, "No, we're comfortable with our defense right now." Yes. No kidding. That kid from BYU, he's a load, but you could see his youth was out there.
He wasn't falling forward on Saturday, John. They were hitting.
Yeah, and that kid is that linebacker who they're trying to tout as a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Yes,
he's an athlete. That's a Sunday player right there. You're going to see him in the NFL. But no, they proved themselves, and they'll be a worthy playoff team at this point from what they showed. Just got to keep it on the straight and narrow. Keep winning those football games. That they are really good. Speed and power for them.
Yeah, the only game they lost, their starting quarterback didn't play.
Yeah.
So they're definitely a title contender in my humble opinion. Texas A&M, big plays, boy. Remember when Texas A&M had a grind and they'd win 21-13 and 24. They just big play after big play against Missouri on Saturday. Ended up winning 38-17. And there are a lot of people, Paul Feinbaum included, who think they're the best team in the country right now. And I can't argue with them. They are just not only winning, they're killing people.
I can't argue with them either because, it's almost like listen, I think the Big Ten is a very good conference this year. But it's tough to play in the SEC. And Texas A&M is really showing that they've got the mettle for it. They're an undefeated team going into the playoffs. It's going to be hard for them to lose, in my opinion. But the only weakness I see with Texas A&M is I don't know if they are. How do I frame it the right way? I don't know if they know what it's like to be there.
Right.
You're good.
Familiarity with it. Yes.
You've got to know what it's like to be there a little bit. And sometimes you say like, here's the up and coming TCU, and they're gonna. What a great year they had. Bam. They lose in the championship game. You got to have been there maybe once a little bit more than Texas A&M has over the last few years. Boy, I would be afraid to play them next year too if they're going to be as good as they've been this year. But this year they deserve it. I just got to make sure that little bit of knowledge of been there before might be their one weakness they have.
Mike Elko was kind of whispered as a couple of jobs opened up. Mike Elko's not going anywhere. First of all, Texas A&M has all the money in the world. They will re-sign him and pay him, and and he's, I got to be honest with you, I underrated him. I think he's done a hell of a job this year. They've had a lot of road games that could have been very tough, and they've won them easy. LSU, Missouri,
I thought what I'm really surprised with him, and maybe because he was at Duke and you didn't see maybe what he could do with it with a certain amount of talent, but he showed a very diverse brand of football. He's cutting edge with everything he's doing defensively and offensively, and I think that's one of the surprises that I thought he was a solid coach. I didn't know he was this dynamic of a coach. I think he really is. And sometimes I hate to say this, it's going to sound but sometimes it's how you look as a person.
Right.
He's got the hoodie on. Looks like an O-line coach. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what he's going to grind it out. No, he's not. He's more than that. He's more than that guy. His press conferences, I've watched 2 of them, the open mic day on SEC, and you get to watch different guys speak. He is very well spoken. And so he's a bright guy. So I think they got their guy. Let's see how it goes for them.
The game of the weekend was Oregon at Iowa, and that was a typical Big Ten game. In the rain, slogging it out.
When did Oregon become an actual Big Ten team? You know what I mean? What happened?
I think they've adjusted a little bit because they know they have to, and that was the kind of game that they would have lost in the past. But they end up getting a field goal at the gun to win 18-16. I watched most of the fourth quarter of that game. Iowa did nothing for most of the game, but then their quarterback woke up, and Oregon had very little time on the last drive, and they just went right down the field and got in position. And I think the final field goal was 39 yards, and Dan Lanning wins another game. And, the Ducks should move up a little bit, although they moved down in the AP standing. To me, just, once the college football playoff comes out, just stop voting. Stop voting. I mean, you look ridiculous.
And even it goes back to that voting stuff. Even when it was with the coaches poll back in the day, they admit it. My assistant does it. I don't even know. I ain't got time.
My grad assistant.
Who the hell watches all the games to have any opinion on it?
Exactly.
So it's stupid at some point in time.
Vandy looked like they were in trouble against Auburn. Rallied. They took the lead. Auburn got a touchdown in a 2 to force overtime. And then Vandy scored in overtime and had a great defensive play at the end. 45-38. Vandy's still alive, sitting at 16. They'll probably move up a little bit. Another tough loss for Auburn. Man, I'll tell you what, if I'm Alabama, I better be careful. That game is at Auburn, and this is the type of game that Auburn has been very dangerous in the last several years when they play Alabama late at home.
It's almost I can't Auburn, when I watch Auburn play the last number of years, it just seems to me. Well, and this is even for Florida as well. I'll give you a little bit of the same thing. It just seems like they're missing. They have good players, good SEC players. There's nobody great on that football team. Who's great? Who's the guy you're going to go? Where's your great defensive guy? Where's your great? Oh, they're always kind of good, and this guy's good, and then they're hurt. Like, who's great on Florida? Jordan Baugh, or Jaden Baugh, the running back for Florida. Everybody says how great he is. Well, he gets 15 carries for 62 yards. How great can he be?
Right.
You know what I mean? You hear greatness. You see Dallas Wilson. He's great. One game. Okay, he's good for one game. DJ Lagway. Great. Okay, goes out there. 3 games. That's what Auburn gives you. They got Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma is going to prove himself. He's already on the bench. And it doesn't, there's no continuity. There's no you're not building on anything. It's like just it's like a weird mishmash of stuff. And that's what they are. They're just not really there.
Their coaching hire is going to be big here, John. Obviously they missed with Hugh Freeze. They need to hit home run.
Another school with foolish amounts of money that they like to throw around on their football team. We'll talk about the infamous Bobby Petrino on the tarmac, when he tried to hire him away. That's Auburn. Okay. Because they're whatever it is, they do that stuff. And sometimes you are what you are, because we talk about NFL leadership and the ownership in the NFL. Sometimes the boosters in the NCAA or in college football, they are who they are too. Right. And they wield a lot of influence when they're waving their money, even more so now with NIL. Mm-hmm. Because now they're involved with player acquisition, so to speak, and who's getting paid so much and all this other stuff. They're the owners of the team, and the general manager is Scott Strickland, and all he's doing is making sure everybody shows up on time. But they just it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. That's why, like I said, the hire coming up this in this cycle, because there's going to be a lot of coaches moving around. Way more are going to move in the very quick future. There's going to be more movement both in the SEC and all the other conferences as well. And when all those moving parts start happening, they're going to be, if you're not on it, you're going to be left behind. You're going to get the morsels, and you're not going to be good. And Auburn better get it going quick, because they could soon be tumbling to the bottom of the conference, and that's not some place that they want to be.
Remember when Alabama wanted all their fans wanted to get rid of their coach? Remember?
Yeah.
That wasn't too long ago. After the Florida State game, they couldn't get him out of there fast enough. Well, Alabama continues to do well. Didn't play well offensively, but man, their defense came to play. LSU, I give them full credit. They played really hard, but that's the best they can do. 20-9. By the way, nice pick by you. Won by half a point for the second straight week. But in all seriousness, Alabama continues to roll. They're top 4. They're, if they can win, okay. So I wanted to see, and it almost got torpedoed. I wanted to see the Ohio State Indiana game with a couple of undefeateds. Indiana had to have a miracle at the end of the game, and there were 2 catches on that last drive. Holy cow.
Insane.
That were unbelievable, including the touchdown catch, to get the proper foot down first. It's
I'm
unreal.
going to say this. This was in discussion yesterday on the golf course. How about the official who was right there on the spot and made the ball? If you wanted to see a textbook way he looked at the ball first. It was going to saw the ball was secured, went right to his feet, moved his body to get a better view of it, to see the line, got it, and nailed it. That was a hell of a call by that referee. I thought for sure. In fast motion, the way it was, he was out of bounds. I thought both his feet were out of bounds. There's no way.
So did Gus Johnson before he lost his voice.
Okay. And let me tell you something. That's also coming up later. Because that's
I know you're not you're not on any Gus bus. You're not on the Malzone bus, and you're definitely not on the Johnson bus either.
No,
okay. All right. But I want to see that game. And right now I'm beginning to lather for Texas A&M and Alabama. I think that would be a hell of a game in the SEC championship game. And Alabama, I give them full credit. Listen, DeBoer has done a tremendous job. And what he's done a tremendous job of is saving his quarterback, and he's improving every week. He's making the throws. He's making proper decisions. And I think that's as big as anything else.
And he doesn't have rabbit ears, because there's a lot of noise in the building.
Are you kidding me?
And he paid no attention to it. What I will say that he does have it, he's still got Nick Saban's players. I got to say that for him.
Yep.
For if I'm going to be critical,
sure,
he's still riding that Saban train, and I'm sure he's going to still recruit well. But it's what Saban was. Alabama is a national brand, obviously, but they were going to play for Nick Saban. So now you got to convince them to come play for you, or is it you're going to come play for Alabama? At this point, you have to convince them that it's for Alabama, and this is all the success is happening. Because I'm not quite sure his name recognition goes as far and as deep as Nick Saban's did.
Right.
And I will say this too. That Texas A&M Alabama matchup that you wish for would be awesome to see, because I think with Mond being able to scramble and move like he can in the pocket, that would give the Alabama defense trouble, and the pressure will be back on Alabama's offense to have to be able to play in a game that might be 38-35 kind of a situation. Let's see how that plays out.
All right, so there you have it. Those were the games last week. Let's look at this week's matchups. 2 pretty big Friday night games. One is complete opposite. Early in the year, you would have been like, "Oh, Clemson at Louisville. Clemson's going to probably have to win this game to stay in the race." It's the other way around. Clemson's playing spoiler, and Louisville is the team that needs to win to stay in the ACC race. They're right there as of right now. In Oregon, is at home against Minnesota. That's a game that you don't want to screw it up. I mean, Oregon's going to be heavily favored in that game. So, and it kind of sucks because, we have all of our high school football playoffs on Friday night, and you got these two really good college football games.
They're supposed to not do this. This is the whole idea. Friday was supposed to be sacred, and they're just keep on bleeding a game in and bleeding a game in and bleeding a game in. So they're going to continue to do it. And I mean,
well, they're getting squeezed by the NFL, John, in the other game. I mean, it starts there, and then so now they're looking to where can they go, kind of thing.
Right, and I get it. And again, if the truth be known, and I say this all the time, when people complain about live streaming high school football games, who's going to go? If you're going to go, you're going to go. Just like with college football, for me, with Florida, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. All right, Saturday game day is at Pitt. Interesting choice. There really wasn't a whole ton to choose from. 10th ranked Notre Dame, coming off the nice win against Navy, is at number 24 Pitt. Pitt still has an outside chance to make the ACC final. Of course, Notre Dame is on course. If they finish the season with just the 2 losses early, they're definitely going to be in the playoff. Notre Dame's a 10.5-point favorite. That's the early game on ABC. USF plays Navy at noon. I told you that game was coming up. USF is nearly a 10-point favorite in that game. You don't see that Navy offense very much. I think it's going to be a lot closer game than that. I know Navy's licking their wounds after the Notre Dame game. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
But I think that USF game, I think USF is people look at them and say, man, they're going to throw 40 points on Navy. And can Navy keep up with USF's offense? So I think it's where that big number comes from, because USF has shown that they can move the football. They really can move the football.
That game's on ESPN2. UCF has the unbelievably tough task of heading to Lubbock to take on Texas Tech. You'd have to think Texas Tech is going to have a little bit of a letdown, but they're still a 23.5-point favorite, and I think they'll still cover that number.
I agree.
UCF is terrible on the road, and Texas Tech now has their sights set on the Big 12 championship game. I think you can see the finish line now. We're in November, so I think that's that. I think Texas Tech will continue to roll. The middle game on ABC, 12th ranked Oklahoma, still with an outside shot to get into the playoff. They would certainly enhance their chances if they can knock off Alabama. I thought this line was a little small. I thought Alabama would be more of a favorite. They're only a 6.5-point favorite at home. I thought it would have been around 10.
Again, that's the said about with Alabama with Texas A&M. Alabama still to show to me that they can go out there and win a game with their offense. And Oklahoma's going to move the ball around a little bit on them. But they don't. Alabama, when Nick Saban was a coach, running quarterbacks drove them nuts. He never accounted for the running quarterback or whatever he did. So these guys that are mobile and they can move around, they do make Alabama a little nutso. So we'll see if that's what they're thinking about. But Oklahoma, think about this matchup, Oklahoma-Alabama. I mean, that's something you saw once, in a bowl game, even if you had the opportunity to see these are like even more so than like Oklahoma to me always had a little bit of that mystique to them.
Right.
And this is a pretty cool matchup. Just the fact that those two teams are playing each other is a cool deal.
Iowa gets to go on the road to USC, probably a Big Ten elimination game. USC is a 6.5-point favorite. That's a 3:30 start. We talked about Florida. They're traveling to Oxford to take on Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 15.5-point favorite. And if Florida puts up the effort that they did against Kentucky, that they'll cover that spread in the first quarter. I expect a better performance out of Florida, but I also suspect you're going to have some changes at Florida as well. The 30-day window's closing. Some kids might look at this and say, you know what, I'm going to preserve myself for next year. I'm going to go into the portal. It should be very interesting. And, of course, like you said, Lane Kiffin's going to have a chance to show off against one of his suitors.
Can I say one thing real quick, too, about Brent mentioned about the portal? It's a little – some things – this is why I say, with Florida, getting to go. The one thing that I could say that's been a little encouraging since the firing of Billy Napier, they have not lost any recruits as far as the decommitment of any recruits, and no one's left the team except for Tank Hawkins, the backup to the backup wide receiver. I'm wondering if they're being told there's a name. I'm wondering if they're being told something that's keeping them around. You'll know after this game.
Yes, you will.
You'll know.
I agree.
And so this has been the one thing it's been interesting to say. By the way, everybody, I am making the trek to Oxford because.
Are you really?
Oh yes, I'm going to Oxford this week. Trying to before I can't do it, go around and hit the SEC quote unquote the places to go see. I've been to a lot of them already, but never been to the Grove at Ole Miss. And so we're gonna get to see that game. And of course, I'll get the opportunity to see how welcoming the Ole Miss fans are when I'm wearing my Gator gear, if they're not going to throw something in my face or whatever that may be. But I don't think that's the case. I think we'll probably get a lot of questions about why do you want to steal our coach or who knows.
I'm sure.
But heading to Oxford for the game, I think it's going to be a lot like last year's game that I went to, which was in Austin. We were totally outclassed. We were not prepared for that game whatsoever. It may turn into the same type of game where it's just it's a 28-7 game at halftime, and DJ Lagway is on the bench, and you're just trying to grind clock to get the heck out of there and not get humiliated.
Then there's this rematch from last year. Georgia went into Austin and beat Texas. Texas is going to try to return the favor. Georgia's a 6.5-point favorite. That's the night game on ABC, opposite the Florida game, which is 7 o'clock on ESPN. This is a very interesting game to me.
You better believe.
Yeah, Texas. This could be the signature win they've been looking for. They've been muddling and just meandering and surviving. The last 3 games they've won by 1 score. They need a signature win like this. And for Georgia, they're another team. Now, they were very impressive against Mississippi State. They took care of their business. They put them away early. I was impressed by that because a lot of people thought that'd be a much closer game. This game here has all kinds of intrigue and will have most of my attention on Saturday night.
On paper, Texas is the better team. That's my opinion. Okay. On defense, they have studs all over their defense. Okay, it's best safety in the country, best linebacker in the country, best this in the country.
Best team money can buy, $40 million.
Arch Manning is the next Manning to be the guy, right? You got everything around them. They got receivers, they got all the different stuff. Georgia, Gunnar Stockton. Now there should be no comparison to those. Can you even name the running back for Georgia? No, probably not. The receiving core, not so much. Defense, good, not great, whatever it may be. You look at this game, you say, if this was game 1 or game 2 of the season, Texas would be a pick'em game, maybe 2.5 to Georgia because it's a home game, and you'd say Texas is going to win. So I'm going to tell you, I wish I could. I can't get a read on either team. I can't get a read that who's going to show up. Georgia can come out and beat them by 40, and Texas could fold and be done with it. Or the exact opposite could happen. I can't even get any read on either one of these 2 teams if they're any good. So I'd love to pick the upset. But I don't know. But I will be watching it if I'm not, if I'm able to be in front of a TV set on Saturday. So I will be watching it.
Okay. All right. So there you have it. There's your college football weekend coming up. We'll hit the NFL in just a second, and we got some news from earlier on Monday. But the 941 Sports Zone is brought to you, as always, by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, 941-251-4257. Now the hurricane season is official. It's not officially over till November 30th, but it's over. Let's face it, the water temperatures are going to cool off.
Right.
It's done.
They were 70 degrees last week. They're going to be 60 something degrees. If a hurricane can be made in that kind of water, we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, no, it can't. So certainly, so now's the time to get that roof. If you did have a little bit of damage from last year, now's the time. I know they've been very busy, but now's the time to hit them up. 941-251-4257. Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. All right. Yeah, we haven't had the Mighty Dog. He's been apparently sedated in the other room. Anyway, time for to hit the NFL before we hit the games. Right around lunchtime on Monday, Brian Dable got third prize in the Meadowlands. That's the second straight year that an occupant there in New Jersey has fired their coach mid-season. For the third straight year, the Giants started 2-8 after blowing a 10-point lead in the final 4 minutes in Chicago yesterday in the flurries. He looked like dead man walking in the press conference. He didn't look good at all. It's almost like he knew what was coming. Jackson Dart again in concussion protocol.
Four
That's times.
Ridiculous.
Somebody's got to get into that kid's ear, and maybe it's the coach. That's the interim coach, the offensive coordinator. Maybe he's the guy that gets in his ear, or maybe this concussion is so bad that they decide to just shut him down. Why wouldn't you?
I would shut him down. But you got Russell Wilson. I mean, you're not going to your season is pretty much written for you. You're not going to make the playoffs. So you've seen what Jackson Dart can do. I would put him on the shelf for the rest of the season. Let Russell Wilson have his last hurrah these next 7 games or whatever it's going to be for him. So let him go out there and play it and let them run the string. Who's he throwing to anyway? They got the receiving cores beat up. You lost Scatterboo. They have a great defense. So go out there and win some games. And
lost Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. Mike Kafka, by the way, who has some local ties in the Florida area. Okay. He'll be the interim coach, if you will, as the Giants try to find somebody else and also try to. Interesting, the meek inherited the earth this weekend. New Orleans won at Carolina. The Jets won at home against Cleveland, doing something that hadn't been done in 355 games. And that's have less than 175 yards of total offense and win. Unbelievable. Many happy returns. You're a Jets fan. Many happy returns in that game, literally.
Kickoff return for a touchdown, punt return for a touchdown. And I will say this though, for having so few yards, there were some splash plays. Real quick with the Jets, I was happy to see what they got for the trades. Getting all those draft picks. They got a receiver along with that from the Colts, and they got a defensive tackle from the Cowboys and that side of the trade. And what do you know? They win a game because that's how they're going to win games right now. They're not dominant.
Yep.
Right. And I think that when a head coach who's a defensive coordinator signs off on letting go of players that on the side of the ball that he knows the most, maybe he knows something we don't know. And Quinnen Williams is a good player. I don't think he's on the best side of his career right now. And Sauce has done nothing after the first year and a half he's played. He's made some nice plays. He doesn't intercept the ball. He seems to be trailing everybody when he's not physical off the line of scrimmage. He gets beat on the inside a lot. He can cover a guy one-on-one. I'm not saying he's a bad cover corner, but the physicality is just not there for him. He's got a long way to go. And his length is weird. So maybe we're looking at the guys that were expendable, and you got more than you could ask for from players and draft picks. If this could be, and I'm saying this with fingers, toes, and eyes crossed, this could be the moment where they said that was the move that got us into the next level, the next step. Because look how fast they've turned it around in New England. It's been
unbelievable. To talk about that. Yes. Yeah. 5 number ones in the next 2 years for the Jets.
And I don't know if they'll pick all of them, Rich, but I know they'll probably trade down and get more players because you need roster full of players. You got to go.
Yeah, you got to go out and get a quarterback because there's none coming up at least this year. So you got all kinds of capital to go out and get a quarterback, somebody who's on the market, who's pretty decent. You mentioned the Patriots.
Yeah,
I think we can now say they're for real.
They're more than for real.
Yeah,
they were. To me, there was a significant difference from the Buccaneers to the Patriots from a talent perspective. And I know Bucs are injured, but you could see, like I saw Baker Mayfield out at the press conference. There was more disappointment than a normal loss would be.
Yes.
I think he was like, what just happened?
He said things that basically, people have to play like they prepare. And some people thought after the first drive that they were just going to, kind of cruise in. And, and he did lay out the criticism, but he also took some of it. He said, starts with me and it needs to be fixed. And I'm going to fix it, is basically what he said. So
good for him. I mean, that's what he should say. He's the leader of the football team.
Absolutely. But I don't think there's any question that the oblique is bothering him. He doesn't even look to run anymore. And I think that's a problem. And the defense, listen, they gave up 4 gigantic plays that total over 200 yards. And I've been saying this since the beginning of the year up here. Nobody listens to me because they've been Ramondre Stevenson this and Ramondre Stevenson that. Travion Henderson, if this team is going to do anything, he needs to be the feature back. And listen, he had a whole bunch of 0s and 1s and 2s yesterday, but he had 2 gigantic runs, long runs, 55 and 69 yards. And as soon as he gets into the secondary, he's gone. He is gone.
I looked up on the 180-yard or the longest run, and I looked up and I saw it because I was in the kitchen, looked up, and I'm like, wow. And then I looked up, looked down, and looked back in, and he was 20 yards ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
He's the fastest guy in the NFL right now. He is top end speed. He was so fast that he was looking for coaching going into the end zone.
Do I go down or exactly. Do I go down?
Nobody was catching him. So the Patriots have put together a nice blend of players, and look what a coach can do just that fast. The Titans were just that was idiotic. That was a power struggle, whatever it was. Idiotic to get rid of that guy. It just made no sense whatsoever. It's a tough thing to think about, but Patriots, my God, and look at Buffalo yesterday. I'm going to be on my Josh Allen. I don't think Josh Allen is the guy.
Listen, I don't think he has weapons on the outside.
Well, that's true. I totally agree with that. But it wouldn't matter if he had 20 weapons. He's still going to try to run the football. He ran. He gets the first down, and what is he going to do? He's trying to barrel downfield for 10 more yards so he can get up and point at him, name it, or whatever he's going to do. You're all playing for himself, and the ball pops out. And then he's on the sidelines like he's distraught. He's like overwhelmed with distraught. You're the quarterback. You're the leader. Get your ass up and be the leader. Don't sit there and be like brooding in your own, oh, I can't believe I did that. Yeah, I can. You do it all the time. Just that's the part of the game. It's not his talent. It's that stuff. What's the difference? They look at him. They look at him and say, like, you're the leader, dude. What happens? We got to pick you up now? Come on, man. Next time, get the 1 yard and let's move on. Let's not play this crap that you're the biggest, toughest guy on the field. It doesn't bode well when you do that.
No question about it. Buffalo and the Bucs play next week. 2 pissed off teams in Orchard Park. Going to be a little chilly.
Going to be a little chilly.
Bills early 5.5-point favorite. One of these teams is going to fall to 6-4. And after this for the Bucs, a trip to LA to take on the Rams. John, the Rams might be the best team in the NFC right now. Matthew Stafford is playing out of his mind. 4 more touchdown passes yesterday. He is leading the NFL. Everything he throws is on target. Rams go to San Francisco, no problem with the 49ers. Take them to the shed, if you will. They played earlier in the year, and the 49ers won that game in overtime. Rams took care of business, and they are a loose thoroughbred. Nice game next week, Rams and Seattle.
Yeah,
2 teams that are playing
really
tremendous football. Seattle had that Arizona game done before the end of the first quarter. They came out and they just smacked them in the mouth and smacked them in the mouth again. A couple of defensive touchdowns by Williams. They're playing really good football right now. That is a tremendous matchup in the late window, and it sucks because it's going to go up against Kansas City and Denver.
Right. The Rams, real quick, just think what McVay's done with that roster, how he's turned it over because he has, Devontae Adams looks like Devontae Adams of about 5 years ago. Puka Nacua, no Cooper, no what's his name, Cooper Kupp. He's gone. No Aaron Donald. Best player
Listen,
in the league, gone.
John, they mortgaged their future to win that Super Bowl 56 4 years ago.
Right.
They had 1 year where they only had 4 draft picks. Okay.
Right.
They hit on every single one of them, including the coup in the 5th round. They can freaking draft, and now they've got draft picks stacked up. Stafford is seriously making his case. Before this year, everybody kept saying he's a Hall of Famer. I'm like, yeah, but I think he's really cementing himself, and certainly if they get to the championship game or the Super Bowl, that'll cement, I think, his Hall of Fame status. He is playing lights out right now.
He is, and his arm strength is second to none. He can throw that football.
Throws that sidearm pass. Brady was talking about it. How
he's showing
how
off.
the ball comes out. Well, how the ball comes out and how you can be more accurate that way. I thought that was pretty good analysis from a guy who doesn't usually bring much to the broadcast. So
I will say this: he has gotten a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, can't get any worse. Speaking of can't get any worse, John, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oof.
Holy cow! You're up 29-10 after 3. Why you're not up 30-10 will come up in my in the future in this game. It just bangs my head. But backup quarterback, you're up 19 going to the 4th quarter. You're dominating the game. You get outgained in the 4th quarter, 180-1.
Yeah,
to 1. And
there's a problem right now between Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence right
now. Yes, and it's visible.
An issue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question about it.
And when Trevor Lawrence was the only piece of the puzzle they had, now they have a team again around him again, and he doesn't seem to be up to the challenge at this point.
Well,
so
listen, Trevor Lawrence does deserve some blame. They had some short drives in the 4th quarter, but Houston got the ball in the last drive, 1st and 10 at the 7. They had to go 93 yards. Jacksonville's got to make a play. They don't make a play, and just a absolute disgusting loss for the Jaguars.
I agree.
Who I think now will not make the playoffs. I think if they would have won that game, they had the game coming up this week with the Chargers. That was probably, a game for playoff positioning. Now they have to win it just to stay ahead of Kansas City, in my opinion. So,
I agree.
Yeah. Baltimore won at Minnesota, while the Steelers lost to those Chargers, the Jekyll and Hyde Chargers. Win 3, lose 3, win 3. I mean, they're up and down, but I mean, they're on their fourth running back, for crying out loud. They don't have anybody to throw the ball to either, so their defense is just carrying them. And boy, Aaron Rodgers looked old last night. He looked old.
He's going to show flashes, so you understand it. But when he got pressure on him, he looked uncomfortable. Yeah, very uncomfortable in the pocket. Steelers didn't have much for. I thought the Steelers were going to play a little better than that.
Yes,
but
me too.
But I think that it's just not a good matchup for Aaron Rodgers. That Charger defense puts pressure on the quarterback pretty well, and so they just didn't have it. I think that what they said was going to happen, which I thought was pretty good of some of the analysts. Steelers were going to have a really tough run with some games, and the Ravens were going to have a real easy run with it. And Lamar got healthy. They're going to pass each other. One's going down and one's going up, and then it's going to see how it all kind of balances out. I obviously still think that Pittsburgh can make the playoffs, maybe will make the playoffs, depending on a few things, because that the Browns, the state of Ohio has become a dumpster fire again. They're just finding ways to lose football games. They're not together. They're not good.
Well, the Bengals opened up the window for Joe Burrow on Monday. He started practicing. So he has to get into a game within 21 days or he goes on season-ending IR. I think he has a chance to play this week against Pittsburgh, but it doesn't matter if it's Joe Burrow. It doesn't matter if it's Joe Flacco. You got to score 50 points to win. That defense is terrible. God awful.
It's just terrible. And it's unfortunate because they're going to waste Joe Burrow. And with all those weapons, when do they start peeling off and figuring things? There's got to be a start over point too. And where do they start over? I mean, it's tough right now. They were expecting much more to this football team this year and just sort of mishandled their offseason and didn't really get it right. So off to another new coach for the Bengals, it looks like very soon.
Yeah, he's dead man walking, in my opinion, as well. The Monday night game, of course, is coming up later. We're taping this in the, I want to say afternoon, but it's dark out here.
You're dark already.
It's early evening. But Philadelphia, Green Bay, interesting matchup. Green Bay, of course, coming off the dreadful loss at home against Carolina. Philadelphia coming off the bye, and Philadelphia with an axe to grind. Green Bay was the team that officially petitioned the NFL to get rid of the tush push.
Yeah.
And Philadelphia ain't happy about it. And I have a funny feeling it might show up on the field tonight, especially if Green Bay doesn't bring their A game and they lost their tight end for the season last week. Jordan Love has gotten back to being inconsistent. I kind of like the Eagles.
I do too. And I think you're going to start seeing this, whatever this race is going to be, where now Green Bay, their division is tough. They better get more consistent with their offense and with Jordan Love, because look right now. Chicago is 6-3. Detroit, Minnesota is still they're still dangerous enough, right? That's a tough division right there. There's no doubt about it. On the flip side, Philly's ready to make a push, I think, right now, coming off this bye. Giants are done. They're out. Dallas is not a playoff.
They're done. They're out.
Commanders,
Washington's way done.
They're way done. So this is a chance for them to put into overdrive. They're now looking at home field advantage again. They're looking for those kind of things. The Buccaneers kind of falling down a little bit. Right now, the cream of the crop is Philly and LA and the Rams. Yeah. And those two.
And Seattle. Let's not leave.
I'll say the Seattle winner with the Rams. That'll be the one that'll have an inside track, obviously.
Yep.
But those are going to be your potential 1-2 seeds with the bye, and the rest are going to all be piled up with and to see who can do what. We'll still see it. And again, we thought a little while ago the Buccaneers were that, but they're struggling. And again, injuries are a big part of what's going on with them. So
no question about it. But they've got to get it back together. We mentioned their trip to Buffalo coming up. Some of the other big games next week. Chargers are in Jacksonville. We talked about that. LA's 2.5-point favorite in that game on the road. There's a game in Madrid, the final international game. Washington and Miami. Miami, that game's so bad that Miami's actually favored in that game.
I can see it.
Chicago at Minnesota. Interesting game. Minnesota's a slight favorite, but the Bears are rolling. And I know a lot of people. My best friend is a Bears fan, and all he keeps telling me is they're totally fugazi. They're fraudulent. They're pulling games out like yesterday. This is a big one here. They need to keep the ball rolling in a pretty difficult place to play in a division game. The AFC North plays against each other. Bengals at Pittsburgh, and Baltimore is at Cleveland. And before you scoff and say Baltimore's just going to win, Baltimore went into Cleveland as a 10-point favorite last year and came out with an L.
The thing about Cleveland, their defense is very good.
Yes, it is.
So if they can play solid on defense, get some turnovers, give Dylan Gabriel a short field, who knows? There's definitely an opportunity for a mess up there, and wouldn't it be so AFC North of them to have that happen? You know what I mean?
Yes. Seattle is at the Rams. We've talked about that. Rams a 2.5-point favorite. Seattle getting some love at the window. Kansas City at Denver. Denver's 8-2. They are a team that is, they've won 7 in a row, but you watch them, especially that game Thursday night against the Raiders. Oh, that set football back 35 years. So much so that Kansas City, coming off the bye, is a 3.5-point favorite at Denver.
I see it because
that's very interesting.
Denver should have lost to the Jets. Okay.
Yes, that's right.
They should have lost to the Jets. In this streak that's going on, they have just been getting luckier and luckier and luckier. I think that Bo Nix, I think, can he play better? Sure. I think he's a game manager. I think basically, to give you an analogy, I think Sean Payton's got his hand up his ass and he's like a puppet, and he's making him. because there's no way Bo Nix would be having any of the success he has without Sean Payton. Not even close. He's almost like he's telling them, you throw it here, you do this here, listen to me. I think Bo Nix is extremely coachable. His dad was a coach. He's 6 years in college. He's the right guy at this moment. But I think Sean Payton knows that I don't think that Bo Nix is the guy. I think he can win games a little bit, and I think it'll be something else that happens. Unless something totally changes from experience or whatever. We'll see how that goes. But no, I can absolutely see Kansas City going into Denver and winning that football game.
Yeah, well, so can the folks in the desert. By the way, the Thursday night game, which we kind of glossed over, Jets at New England. Now, New England's an 11.5-point favorite, and they're playing tremendous football. Jets have won 2 in a row. Can the Jets make a game of this?
Yes. And the reason I say yes, here's the reason what I can say to you. They, on offense, have absolutely been floundering on offense. But defensively, there has been some things that have been happening. Any team that has a second-year quarterback, you've got to expect a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The Jets and the Patriots, they're familiar with each other. It's a division situation. So while I'm giving you little tidbits of how it could all play out, it's going to take a lot of good fortune for the Jets to beat the Patriots if they just play smart, solid football. Okay, don't go out there and try to make a statement out of it. Go win your game 28-7 or 28-10 or whatever you got to do, and be good with it. That's the only way I see it happening. Because I mean, Justin Fields has got 2 wins under his belt right now. Do I think that he's going to face the defense and be able to? No. Garrett Wilson looks like he's going to be out again. So you have your lost your main guy. And again, it just goes back to my talking about the Jets earlier. All their players are slightly built guys that are due to be injured all the time. And so, and unless you can figure out a way to run the ball and get Breece Hall out and running real well and short passing game, you got good tight ends for the Jets. But I don't see it. But there's a way, but I just don't see it for sure.
Yeah. The Sunday night game next week is Detroit at Philly. Nice game there.
Nice game.
Dan Campbell took back the play calling, and they ran the football. He said, I'm going to run the football, and they ran the football to the tune of 44 points. And I think it'll be interesting to see what Philadelphia does against Green Bay, how they come out of that game on a short week to take on Detroit. And then the Monday night game didn't get flexed simply because Dallas is in it. Dallas, 3.5-point favorite at Vegas. So next Monday we can just have the show whenever, because who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
exactly. All right. Lock of the week. We both, I mentioned it earlier. I had BYU, finally tasted the L. You had Alabama. So we're both 5-2 heading into this week. Lock of the week. What do you think, John?
I'm going Ole Miss, whatever point spread it is. I'm taking Ole Miss over Florida. I'm saying it because
right now.
I'm saying it because I'm going to be there. So it's kind of like we're kind of theming this up a little bit. I think that Lane Kiffin's going to make a statement one way or the other. Like I said earlier, with either he's staying and saying, look what you could have got, or he's leaving and saying, look what you're going to get. He's making some form of a statement with this game. And he's just childish enough to go and try to get as many points as he can to cover the spread or whatever he's going to do. So that's what I think about my lock in the week. Simple as that. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's going to make a point to show everybody who he is, what he can or can't do for you, and he'll be more than happy to lay a big number on Florida.
All right, I was kind of tossing back and forth between 2 games, but I'm gonna take Alabama. Lay 6.5 against Oklahoma. I've been the guy that doesn't believe in Oklahoma all year. I think this is where the road ends for them as far as trying to get a playoff berth. I know you like Oklahoma. I still don't think their quarterback is 100% healthy, and he needs to be in a game like this against the Tide. So I will take Alabama and lay the 6.5. And again, we're both trying to improve on our 5-2 starts. All right. We're to the point of the show. What's bugging me? would you like to
I'll
be on
go
the
first.
team answer? You'll go first? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So watching football on Saturday, you always try to find that 12 o'clock game that is the one that there's always a great 12 o'clock game. So what did it become? Indiana and Penn State was the really good game, and a lot of drama in it. I get where Penn State is, they're trying to, get themselves restarted after the James Franklin situation. And they made one hell of a game out of it. And from the entirety of the fourth quarter, all I heard was a shrieking little boy who was out there screaming his head off, okay, about every first down, every whatever it may be. It was ridiculous. Gus Johnson, I think it was great when he was in the NCAA, okay, and making those calls on a late buzzer beater, that kind of thing. You can't scream your fool head off about every last thing that happens. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, and it's not. He lost his voice. There was dead air because he couldn't get another scream out. And which would bother me even more than his delivery of the game was that his delivery was so ridiculous. Joel Klatt had to get involved, otherwise he was going to get lost in the shuffle. He had to start acting like a fool and saying foolish shit. Oh, excuse my mind, but foolish stuff. Okay, it was dumb. It was ridiculous. And as Penn State scores, he's going to commercial and he says, "It looks like Penn State is going to pull this one off. This game is over." It wasn't over. Yeah. You foolishly say something definitively like that and go down the field and start screaming, "Give him the Heisman right now."
Yeah.
Every word out of his mouth was what I would expect from my 16-year-old nephew to say watching his team. It was stupid. It was ridiculous. I don't know how that you can be on network TV and that's what you're doing. I can't imagine that anybody watched it and didn't say how ridiculous it was. I've mentioned it to at least 10 or 15 people. I was at a golf tournament yesterday, maybe more, because we were just chit-chatting. And everybody said the same thing. Foolish, ridiculous. You almost need to, they need to sit him down and say, that's not, if that's who you really are, and you got to this point in your career, great. I guess, I don't know. But you've taken this shtick that was sort of came organically in the NCAA basketball tournament and turned it into a ridiculous shtick, made up stuff for college football. It's bad. It's bad. I think that's for all the people that, things are boring or whatever. I don't want that. That's too much. So Gus Johnson, that's
what's bugging you. Yeah.
I'll turn the sound off if it's a good game next time. And I don't do that stuff, but I will turn the sound off.
Well, he's going to have the call on Michigan, Ohio State, and he's going to have the call on the Big Ten championship game. Those are going to be his final two games. They haven't had too many close games on Fox, to be honest with you. So
good.
Probably just went overboard there.
Yeah, well, it was out of it was it was a good game, but he kind of ruined it because it was like it was about him. That's the other part. It was about him and his call. It wasn't about the game.
All right, my what's bugging me might be a semi-repeat. Okay, but I watched games both Saturday and Sunday, and I watched the Bucks in particular, and it's third quarter. It's I think when the Bucks scored, there was under 2 minutes to go in the third quarter to make it 21-16, and they started chasing points.
Yeah.
That drives me absolutely bat crazy.
Yeah.
Bat crazy. When did Todd Bowles become this riverboat gambler? That was Bruce Arians. He was the conservative guy. He would come here and punt on 4th and 2 with 4 minutes to go in the game and all 3 timeouts left. Now he's going for 2 early in games. This is back-to-back games where he went for 2. The game I went to against San Francisco, second quarter, he's chasing points. And there's far-reaching effects to this. For instance, if the Bucks had scored at the end, they would have had to go for a 2-point conversion just to make it a 3-point game and, make a field goal, not beat them.
Right.
Okay? You got to think further ahead than the immediate. Okay? And he's not alone. It happens all over the place. Coaches, the analytics, and again, I've been on this analytics thing. I know this is probably a semi-repeat of other what's bugging me's, but the analytics guys need to go jump in the pool. Just go away. Just the go for it. It's 4th and 4 or less. Go for it. No matter where you are on the field, your own 40-yard line. Go for it. It doesn't make sense to me. And you watch, the effects don't happen until later in the game. Jacksonville game, they're up 29-10. What in the world are you doing going for 2? Up 19.
Right.
Okay. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Here's the undercurrent that I have. Okay. With chasing points early. To me, you're saying to your opponent and your team, we have to do this in order to win.
Right.
Okay. You can say, oh no, we had a good play called. And what's the 1 point going to do? If you're the better team, you're going to score 30 more points. Okay. Right. And if you're not, and you that coin flip that you're doing to get the extra, the 1 more point can turn into a game where now every decision you make is based on that chasing.
Correct.
You change the culture of the entire game. And that's what's stupid about it. It is totally stupid to do that. And again, it's at every level. I'm just, and again, I can sit here all day, and people who do different stuff, they have things they want to do. I get it in some cases. If you wanted to do something because you want to show a team something and they say, oh, you got to watch out for this or whatever, but an extra point, it's 35 yards away. There's no trick play on an extra point anymore. Right. If you run a trick play on an extra point, you lost your mind. Now there's a riverboat gambler right there. But the idea is that it just to me, you're absolutely right. You're chasing points. The dynamic of the game has changed for the rest of the time.
The whole game.
So what do you do the next time? If you don't chase the points, you chase the points again, and then you
have to. You have to.
At some point you do. You're out of sequence.
Right. Yep.
And it's a kick.
By the way, you remember the play the Bucks ran?
No, I'm trying to. I'm
hand off, pitch it to the wide receiver. We're supposed to throw it to Baker.
That's right. That's it.
That's your best 2-point play? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Holy crap.
I don't get it. I never have. I don't understand it. Just go play conventionally. You know what I mean? And again, analytics, like you said, yes, I do analytics, but I don't look at it and say that everything is because it says this. No, that's not how it doesn't work that way. The dynamic of the game is more important than the 1 more point you're going to get. It doesn't make any sense.
All right, I'm done. Done. My blood pressure's up, so we better end this thing. Another tremendous edition of the 941 Sports Zone. Next week we'll have round 1 results in the playoffs. Lots of them.
Well, I will tease a little bit. I'm trying to get a guest for next week because we can at least we can talk about some games as opposed to the brackets and stuff like that. So we'll see if we can maybe get a guest in here, talk a little more local.
Nice little tease there.
Little tease.
You're even teasing me because you haven't talked about it. So
no, like you said, but I was thinking about it for this week, but I said no. Right. I think it's better if we got a little something to bite into next week, so we'll do that for sure.
All right, so join us again. We record live on Mondays, and then you can get this podcast Facebook, YouTube. I post it on X. Instagram, wherever you get your podcasts, you can
absolutely
get the 941 Sports Zone.
I'll send it to everybody on the universe.
Yes, exactly. And again, a big thanks to the folks at Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida for being our presenting sponsor. So until next week, for John, I am Cold Masoni. Bundle up, buddy. I love the hoodie. I love the hoodie.
I'll have to wear a bathing suit next week, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Rub that in. Go ahead. Because I ain't going to see 50s.
No, you ain't seen that.
Probably March or April now.
Yeah.
Anyway, up here in Massachusetts, I'm Spitz, and until next week. So long, everybody.
See ya.